Well, hello you two, it's me, Master, and welcome back to another overly sarcastic productions reaction. History summarized, the Splendor of Kyiv. Oh yeah, I swear, with everything that's been going on for pretty much the past year at this point, I very much hope that the Splendor of Kyiv that we are about to watch survives, because we already had one close call with this. The Russians, due to a combination of their own incompetence and the Ukrainians' just dogged defense, thankfully they were able to, stop them from capturing the capital within, a few weeks. But still, it's stuff like this, like all this history that I really hope doesn't go and get lost due to one man's really stupid desires for empire. But yeah, let's actually learn about the history of Kyiv, right? Because besides the fact that Kyiv was historically the capital of the Kievan Rus, which were kind of like a predecessor to the Russians back in the day, I don't know that much besides the fact that it's a victory point in Hearts of Iron 4. So yeah, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it for some reason. Corner video will be leading to my Let's Play of the day, and with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
There's a legend in the Ukrainian Orthodox tradition that the medieval mosaics of St. Sophia Cathedral in Kyiv are indestructible. Given the circumstances, I hope to God that legend is true.
Yeah.
Let me explain why. The history of Ukraine is a winding, hard-fought, beautiful thing, but as I've discussed elsewhere on this channel, it can feel a little nebulous when we're looking at the borderlands of 4 or more empires and trying to construct one cohesive narrative while parts of Ukraine get carved off by Austria, Poland, Russia, the Ottomans, Russia again, but this time with hammers and sickles, Russia again, but this time they're weirdly inept about it, and especially in the context of the ongoing war, we risk falling into a narrative where things are always disastrous all of the time. So what we'll do today instead is zoom in squarely on the capital city to appreciate the remarkable splendor of Kyiv, focusing in on one particularly emblematic site within not just the city, but all of Ukraine and the entire Eastern Orthodox world, St. Sophia Cathedral. As its legends of indestructibility imply, this church has been through the absolute ringer, but it, like Ukraine, is still standing. To see how magnificent of an accomplishment that is, let's do some history. The history of Ukraine begins in the early medieval period with the migrations of Slavic people into the Dnieper Valley, but the history of Ukraine transforms in the moment when Prince Volodymyr of the Kievan Rus converted to Byzantine Orthodox Christianity. The tale has 3 main variants, the most storybooky being the one where Volodymyr wanted a new religion for his state, so he scoured the lands to find one to adopt, and was so astonished by the majesty of Constantinople and Hagia Sophia that he immediately buddied up with them. Of course, there's more to it than just that, but, Orthodox churches are spectacular to behold, so it's not wrong.
There is one thing. I heard a part of the story was he went around to the various different religions, or went around, quote unquote. I'm making it sound like he went shopping, but basically the reason why, because he went around, I can't remember the reason why he didn't go with Roman Catholic Catholicism. But the main reason he didn't go with Islam was because they discouraged drinking, and so the Orthodox was the only one that didn't really have a problem with it. So that was yeah.
A more grounded tale focuses on Vlad's marriage to the Byzantine princess Anna Porphyrogenita, which Emperor Basil II allowed on the condition that he stop being an uncouth pagan and get in the holy dunk tank. Never before had a Byzantine princess been married off to a barbarian, so for Volodymyr to succeed where even French and German Catholics had failed is wild. The third version, as told by Arab sources, might explain why Basil relented. When 2 Byzantine generals started making rebellion noises, the emperor pulled some religious and marital diplomacy to bring the Rus on side and get some of their warriors to help out. Taken all together, we see poor Basil in a bind, yet Volodymyr is genuinely enthusiastic about becoming part of the Byzantine Christian world. And that enthusiasm shows in his and Anna's thorough conversion efforts in the Rus, as well as the magnificent church they built as a commemoration. Begun around 1011 and finished several years later during the reign of his son Yaroslav the Wise, Sofiyski Sobor is named in honor of Hagia Sophia in Constantinople. Not literally a saint named Sophia, but the concept of holy wisdom. English translates it lazily as Saint Sophia, but in name and style style and intent, this was Kyiv's Hagia Sophia. This centerpiece church was built by Byzantine masters as well as local Rus architects and masons, and it has several distinct features of Byzantine architecture, most notably the mixed brick and stone construction, cross and square layout, and emphasis on domes. But
lots of
Hagia
domes, you
Sophia
gotta
in
love the domes.
Constantinople is one ginormous dome, St. Sophia has one high central dome, 4 smaller surrounding domes, and then 8 more even smaller domes, all radiating out in a kind of pyramid shape. This 13 dome arrangement, symbolizing Jesus and the apostles, was a brand new configuration unique to Kyiv. There's a lot of theological geometry wound up in this. The idea of divinity emanating from God out into the world is physically represented by the arrangement and size of the domes. So the whole building is steeped in Byzantine symbolism, but Kyiv was already interpreting the prompt in new ways, literally building their theology with their landmark cathedral. And the interior of the church might be even more spectacular, as it holds one of the biggest arrays of medieval Orthodox mosaics and frescoes anywhere. There are standout mosaics of Christ Pantocrator and Panagia Oranta, but every surface of the church is covered in meticulously organized and beautifully rendered artwork.
I swear, stuff like this, I mean, these like pictures and paintings and stuff like that, it's just, yes, you take like a sidelong glance at them and they can kind of look a little uncanny, but when you actually take like a good close look at these and look at the intricate detail in them, and you realize that, one, not only were these made by hand, but like, two, they're on the ceiling of a building, so again, that adds another, layer of complexity to the issue. Plus, curved surface, all of that, and just, again, the detail. These were made by masters of their craft who spent their entire lives perfecting it. And just, it's that whole thing of just awe looking at it, knowing that, yes, this is supposed to be like a symbol of divinity or worship, but this was made by human hands, and the detail and intricacy of it is truly beautiful.
St. Sophia employs some 177 shades of mosaic glass, dozens of blues and greens.
Mosaic, yeah, that's the part I forgot.
A palette which, by our current knowledge, shouldn't have been possible with the materials available at the time. But nonetheless, there it is. Everything inside follows strict theological hierarchies, except for the surprising number of secular frescoes in the church. St. Sophia shows scenes of Byzantine court life in the Hippodrome of Constantinople, as well as portraits of the prince's family. According to modern scholarship, this is all Prince Volodymyr's triumphal cycle, the story of his trip to Constantinople and the splendor of the Byzantine Empire, culminating in his marriage to Anna and building the Church of Our Lady, the first stone church post-conversion. As well as a handy canvas for the royal story, this fresco cycle unites the secular power of the Kievan Rus with the Orthodox culture they were now a part of, making this the first artistic depiction of their national history. Because St. Sophia was a truly national space. In addition to the church, this space contained a library of Greek and Slavic writings, it received foreign diplomats, it hosted the Vicha Assembly, and was the primary burial ground for the royal dead, with Prince Yaroslav the Wise most notably entombed in the church. This was a place for the religion, culture, and politics of the Kievan Rus all under one gorgeously domed roof. So in just this church, we can see how Volodymyr's baptism marks a conscious and permanent transfiguration of the Ukrainian identity.
Oh god, I love that painting, because what says more about really weird depictions of history besides Viking longship covered with gold and like Orthodox iconography. I mean, just this image right here, out of context, is so weird. Because usually when you think of, Viking style longship, yes, shields, but also, long wood full of people ready to murder others for gold.
Into the fundamental form it would retain for the next 1,000 years. St. Sophia was a stone-built thesis statement of what kind of culture Prince Volodymyr wanted for his state and what the Ukrainian people agreed was worth doing. St. Sophia's completion in the decades after conversion affirmed this new identity and would remain a built monument to the moment Ukraine became Ukraine. However, its path...
Granted, some of the more modern pictures inside, I don't know whether that was just a bad picture or if the inside is looking a bit grungy like that, but something like that, I am fascinated that it was allowed to stand at all during the Soviet occupation. I mean, something like that, something so gaudy and ostentatious, covered in, religious iconography. It's stuff like that. I am so surprised that, and it's the same with like so many other churches of like former Soviet held states. Like, I am so surprised even now when I do learn the history of like, how were these allowed to stand? Did they just lock the door and not let anybody go in for like the decades and decades that the Soviets were like in charge? I mean, it's fascinating. I mean, even now you look at Germany, and I'm pretty sure even out today, where like the boundary between East and West was, the street lights are still different colors based on like what East and West Germany built.
Pathway to the modern world was not easy, as the church was first pillaged in 1169, not nice, by a rival Rus prince, and in 1240s the Mongols demolished Kyiv, leaving St. Sophia as one of very few monuments still standing. Ransacked,
I completely forgot the Mongols, yeah.
in ruin, Kyiv became a shadow of its old self as political power and the seat of the church both scooted up to Moscow. Kyiv suffered 2 more sacks in the 1400s, and the church was abandoned for nearly a century. After all that and a 5-decade stint as a Catholic church, long story, St. Sophia became properly Orthodox again.
I mean, what are you gonna do? Lithuania was a Catholic nation at the time. Actually, a fun fact about Lithuania, I don't mean to like change the subject, but Lithuania was one of the last countries in Europe to convert to Catholicism or some flavor of Catholicism after being pagan. And I mean, if you played EU4, you know that Lithuania controlled at its peak a whole heck of a lot of territory that was not the right religion, so to speak.
3, a dozen odd years before Ukraine got independence as the Cossack Hetmanate. This period in the 16 and early 1700s saw a flurry of work to re-establish a national spirit, and the shape it took was Cossack Baroque. Innovating on their native architectural traditions with inspiration from the Baroque movement in Western Europe, the Cossacks built, restored, and expanded across Ukraine and in Kyiv, and St. Sophia was a particular beneficiary of that artistic era. The hetmans and church leaders built up a monastery complex around the church with a monastic school and dining hall, housing, gates, and bell tower, first in wood and then all again in stone after a fire in 1697.
Of course, there's always a fire.
Makeover went to the cathedral itself, with 6 new pear-shaped domes, a gilded central dome paid for by Hetman Ivan Mazepa, a new second floor along what was previously an outside gallery, and a plaster whitewash with green accenting on the roof and domes for an elegant bichrome look. These pear-shaped domes have since become iconic to the Orthodox style, and compared to goofy Candyland-looking cathedrals
I swear, the Russian ones do look so silly.
like St. Basil's, St. Sophia does this look well. Granted, the second floor and new domes fully overwrite the deliberate theology that defined the original look of the church, so
yeah.
Pros and cons. Now, after centuries at the crossroads of great power conflict, some of the gravest danger to Ukraine's heritage came in the 1900s under the Soviets.
Oh good, we actually get to learn what happens to this.
Atheists, they fiercely suppressed Orthodox culture. The Dormition Cathedral at the Kyiv Monastery of the Caves was confiscated and turned into an anti-religion museum. St. Michael's Golden Domed Monastery was fully blown up, and St. Sophia was next in line, only spared because of huge public outcry. It was still confiscated by the state in 1934, and every treasure not plastered on
is your only god,
plundered,
right?
But as it now wasn't in use, communist authorities did permit a formal study, with artwork getting restorations up through the 70s. It was—
Wait, really? I guess as a form of historical study, yeah, I guess that does make some sense. Cool. Yeah, that answers my question.
It's only after Ukraine's independence in 1991 that St. Sophia once again became a celebrated site of Ukrainian heritage and an anchor point for their identity. One of many sites rejuvenated or fully rebuilt after independence, but a very important one. Yet, once again, that cultural treasure is under threat from Russian violence.
Yeah.
We never have to find out whether those mosaics truly are indestructible, but after 1,000 years, it's clear that the Ukrainian national spirit they represent sure as hell is. Thank you for watching.
I swear, it really does suck, the absolute damage that is going on in Ukraine. I have relatives that died gaining Lithuanian independence from Russia. It was actually my mom's cousin. I've said it before. They were defending a radio tower from the military, and he was unfortunately one of the casualties. I'm gonna have to ask her again what the actual name of the event was called, so I can actually like put it in one of these videos. I'll have to do that later, or maybe I'll do it while I'm editing. Who knows? If you're looking at this, if you're just listening to this video, I might have had the name up on the screen while I was talking. I mean, who knows? Original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it yet for some reason. Corner video will be leading to my newest Let's Play. And with all that out of the way, I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.